Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spec Guide. I'm Max, and we have a breaking news story here to cover that's really interesting. And I think there's no better person to help us unpack this than Dave Connor. Hello.
Hey, Max, how are you doing? Yeah, so big news out of, with Tesla. It's like it's just another day with Tesla, right? Another big news item. But look, this one's got some substance to it because I've been really looking at the Model S's and the Model X's recently, and they're pricey, right? When you start comparing them to what you can get like for a Model 3 or a Model Y, you start going, well, I don't know. And the number of sales that that they've been actually making on the Model S's and the X's, I think these things are piling up on inventory lots, Max, from what I can see. They're great
Mhm.
cars, but the thing is, the threes and the Ys are really great cars, and they're stealing sales. So look, they've lowered the price on both items by $10,000. That's the headline. It doesn't seem as though there are any other differences in terms of the options that are available on the cars. The range on the Model S has dropped from 405 miles EPA for the long range down to 320. And I was just talking to a buddy of mine. He's like, 320 works for me. Um, the X, I can tell you, that's dropped from, when you start getting under 300 miles of range on an X, and you start saying, especially with the 21-inch wheels, I think it's under 270 miles of range, that starts to get super dicey, especially in colder weather. Now, there's two possibilities as to what Tesla has done here. Nothing confirmed that I've heard about how they're delivering these cars for $10,000 less. One option is they're going to software limit these cars. So in other words, think about it this way, Max. You got loads and loads of cars that are sitting on the lots right now. These Model S's and the Model X's. They're just not selling.
Yeah.
So if they software limit it, now all of a sudden they could actually lower the price, and they're delivering the same exact car that maybe down the road they could unlock and and give you the longer range. Now, years ago, I bought for $9,000 less a Model X 60D. Back in the day, they were 75Ds, and they offered a 60D, which had a 200-mile range. And I remember a road trip going down to see Katie in Virginia at her college. It was horrendous because the thing was only getting like 140, 160 in the wintertime. But 269 for a Model X in the wintertime, you're like right around that 200-mile range. But maybe they're moving the product now. Let's say they're software limiting it, which is option A, and we don't really know if this is true or not. But I've seen them do this before, and if they do software limit the Model S and the Model X, that 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 means they could actually come out 6 months from now and say, "Hey, how'd you like to unlock your battery pack and bring it up to a 405 miles of EPA rated range, or whatever the Model X is with the standard range with the 19-inch wheels?" And that could be very appealing. All right, so that's option A. Option B is, are they putting an LFP battery pack in this car? Because if they are, then you're going to be able to fully charge the car up to 100%, which makes it a lot more useful. Now, I have no reason to believe that they would be doing that. And my gut tells me they've just got product to sell that's sitting on the lot, and they're going to software limit it because they could do that with a dip switch or a computer program in about 2 hours, and they'll be done. Roll it out, and they've got a car that's software limited. Um, so I don't know, Max. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I agree with everything you said, Dave. I think those are the two realistic options here. And also, I think it's not just the Model 3 and the Y that are cannibalizing sales here. Let's be honest. I feel like, Dave, that S and X, Model S and X, as revolutionary as they were when they came out, they're aging products. And at this point, the competition from the Germans, from other vehicle makers, is pretty intense in the sense that we've seen other CCS cars in the luxury end perform really well as vehicles. And I know CCS charging isn't perfect. And if you're used to Tesla supercharging, that is a killer thing. But I think Tesla's inventory issues might be real with these two. And I agree with you. I think that might be the culprit for why they're having to roll out a cheaper standard range model for both the sedan and the
Yeah,
SUV.
well, listen, there's no doubt there's more competition on the road now than there was 5 years ago. And the cars are great, Max, right? Like you look
Yeah.
at the Taycan, even the Lucid, these are great cars. They
Hmm.
just, it's just, I don't want to go down this CCS path. Don't get me fired up on a Monday. You know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
but look, I think there's also a glimmer of hope for a number of manufacturers that are partnering with Tesla from an ACT standpoint, which is going to
Mhm.
have some interesting ramifications to those that are considering a higher end vehicle that they may want to, get a little bit of an off brand and know that perhaps in the back pocket next year or the year after, they'll have the ability to charge at Tesla. So I'm not sure that's really a motivating factor um, as far as the competition really, you know, um, it's I think that you got a lot of different factors right now. The high end cars are tough to sell. Cars by themselves are tough to sell. SUVs are a little bit more in the range, but I mean, this Model X is still 90 grand, and that's a lot of money. And unless you're a cash buyer, interest rates, if you got the best interest rate possible, it's probably still going to be in the 6.5%, range. So that becomes pretty pricey. But look, they will move more product here. There's no doubt in my mind. Giving a $10,000 price discount, they'll move more model. Now, if you back up to about 30 days ago, I almost pulled the trigger on a Model S inventory car, 19-inch wheels, white on white, that was 81K for the long range. And so they're playing games with marketing. And I don't really know where the inventory cars are right now, but they took away those big steep discounts, especially on the long range cars. There were still some pretty hefty discounts last time I looked on the Plaids, but those things
Hmm.
are, they're marked up quite a bit more. So look, big news. Uh, Price. Look, money talks, right? You got
Yeah.
inventory sitting on the shelf. What are you going to do? You got to spur demand, lower prices. That's what they're doing. How are they doing that technically? I think that most likely it's going to be a software limited pack. They may not even tell you that now. They may just call it the standard range, and and they're not even going to say. When I bought my 60D, they told me that was a 75D software limited. I don't think they're going to do that here if in fact that's what they've got coming out. The reason why I say that, Max, is because they haven't announced it. They're just saying Model S standard range or short range or whatever they're calling it. It's 10K less. So I don't know. These guys,
Breaking news on top of what you just said, Dave. So, kind of what we were suspecting, these aren't LFP or anything new in terms of batteries. And according to this is a tweet from Sawyer Merritt, who reports a lot in the Tesla space. They don't plan to offer firmware upgrades to unlock more range or performance
yeah,
for
but
these ones.
but Max, okay, do you believe them? So all right, so on the referral program, you can only get 5 referrals. The next week, you can get 12 referrals. Now these guys change their minds like as the wind blows. So I don't buy that. What are they technically delivering? If they're technically delivering a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack in a Model S and it's software limited, and 6 months from now they need to drive a few extra bucks in terms of revenue, they'll definitely offer that up. I mean,
But
I don't
that's an
know how.
unknown, Dave. And so I don't know if buyers looking at this are gonna, yes, it could be a 100 kilowatt hour battery you're carrying around,
Right,
but there's no absolutely, like you're saying, no guarantee
right.
depending
No,
on where
there's
the
no
headwinds
guarantee,
go.
but if they are software limiting it, let's just rephrase this. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if down the road they offer you the ability to unlock it. And
Yeah.
for that tweet to say that they're not going to do that, unless did the company come out and say that they're not going to do that?
This is just him saying basically he says news colon Tesla says, so that's his source here. So I don't know who within the company said it, but he says it's from the horse's mouth.
Okay, so they are software. They're saying his source is saying software limited, not LFP,
Hmm.
and Tesla does not plan to offer firmware upgrades to unlock more
Doesn't
range.
exclude them from being able to. It just says they
Right,
don't plan to or promise
right,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you get where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
If
If the
you're carrying
lever is
around
there, if
all
they
those
need
extra
it.
battery packs and Tesla wants to drive revenues a year from now, you know what's gonna. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but
Yeah.
I've seen this. I've seen this movie before, so that's just my opinion.
Fair enough. The precedent's absolutely there, and
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think more than likely there will be that lever
yeah.
unlocked eventually.
But
Also,
but I was just gonna say,
yeah,
forget about that. The question is 320 miles of range with the 19-inch wheels on a Model S at 10 grand less, is that going to sell cars? And I tell you what, I just got off the phone with a buddy of mine. He's like, 320 miles, that does it for me. You know what? I don't know that he's going to buy one, but he's like, wow, hey, that's now if you look at the gap in the price difference between a Model 3 Performance and a Model S, the 0 to 60 on this Model S standard range is what? 3.7. That's
yeah,
fine.
it's fine, but it's zero point 0.6 seconds slower than a normal
Yeah.
Model S or a 3 Performance.
Yeah. But they may offer an acceleration boost on that and bring it down to 3.1 6 months from now too. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't hesitate to buy that car. The Model X still is, to me, it's too pricey, even at 90 grand. It's too pricey.
Yeah, and also Model X, I feel like, frankly, faces, not just stiff competition from Model Y, but everyone and their mother is making an SUV right now. Whereas Model S, if you want a luxury performance sedan, Model S is still more in rarefied air, I feel like. And so Tesla has more of a justified, I think, almost monopoly with Model S. Model X, it's like, at that price, that's BMW iX, Mercedes EQS SUV money. Okay, this moves it down a trim level, but I agree with you. $90,000, that's still a lot,
You
especially
want
with
you want
interest
to see
rates.
something really funny, Max? You
Yeah.
look at the steering wheels and look how much they're charging for the round wheel versus the yoke.
Is that only on the steering wheel is included now, but if you get the yoke, it's 250.
$250 more for the yoke. Okay. AKA they don't want you buying it, is what it is, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like, I just think that's funny that they're charging more for the yoke and everybody's trying to get rid of the yoke and get the round steering wheel. Like that's like Tesla humor to me. I can't even believe someone would
I
pay.
guess because initially on Plaid, the yoke was your only option, right?
Right.
So they're still trying to bill it as a premium thing.
Yeah, but I mean, look, even on the long range, my Palladium, my 2021, um, that had a yoke, and I got used to it, but like it's not. I like the round wheel. I mean, in a
I
panic
think
situation, I
I
like the
think we
round
were
wheel.
onto something when we invented round steering wheels. I
Yeah,
agree with you. Yeah.
I get it. I get it. Yeah. So look, big news. 10 grand less. Yeah, that's a lot of money. They'll sell more cars. They'll move the products. Um, and what are they going to do in the future? Look, I'll keep my opinions to myself, but I'm pretty sure I know what they're going to do. That's just me
Yeah.
speculating. But
Before we close out, I want to
yeah,
offer an update on inventory cars, though. Model S inventory deals are still around, and for a little bit more, like $4,000 more, you can get a basically, full range, not standard range, but the 400 plus mile range Model S for like 82 grand
yeah,
right
and
now.
and if you and that's with the blue paint, which is a $1,500 option. If you
Yeah.
find a white inventory car, it's going to be even less than that with 19-inch wheels.
Yep.
So
There's some white ones for
yeah, so 80,
under.
81 440 or 78 990, something like that for the standard range.
Yeah. It's
I would I would all day get the inventory long range.
$3,000 is not that much when you're comparing relatively the price of this. And then if we look at Model X, it's pretty close as well.
Boy, I'll tell you what, I'd be going for an inventory car right now, not one of those software limited cars.
Yeah, but the only thing is this is inventory, so kind of catch it while you can because it's probably not going to stick around super
But
long.
that's an interesting one, right? Because if they're
Yeah.
sitting on all this inventory, catch it while they can. If they're software limiting cars from inventory by going out there in the parking lot at 2 in the morning and software limiting them when no one's looking, there's so many little tricks going on here. They've got inventory. How
Yeah.
much they actually make available for just a few grand more is to be determined. But if you can grab an inventory car now, I would definitely go for that as opposed to, because most likely the cost to upgrade, when and if they ever allow you to unlock the battery pack, will cost more than what you could actually get than inventory car as a long range today. And so,
Yep.
that would be my advice if you could grab an inventory car that you find. And also keep in mind if I've had this Model S with the 19-inch wheels, and that's the way to go in my opinion. Don't go crazy with the big wheels, spending a lot of money, killing your range, worse ride. I mean, the 19s, they look good and they ride great, and there's no reason to spend extra money for them. So anyway, yeah, big news, Max. I think not necessarily big enough news for me to get my credit card out tonight, because I've been liking my Lucid a lot,
Yeah.
which is a whole nother story. But look, hats off to Tesla for playing the economics games while we're all here watching it. It's just exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's always fascinating, Dave. I see why you're so into this, and you're not alone, obviously, but you become, I feel like, one of the big Tesla people following this news. Tesla has so many ways of shifting their inventory, manipulating prices and the cars they sell, and you just don't see this from other automakers. Like, oh, here's a new model, just, not a refresh, just middle of the week, we drop it, and
Yeah.
it's so fascinating
Well,
to see.
well, let's just take two minutes to talk about that. Because you're buying a car directly from the manufacturer, when you buying a car, when a manufacturer sells the car to a dealer, there's two different things, two different levers, if you will, that happen. One are rebates, money on the hood, and also holdback that dealers get that you don't know about, that are incentivizing dealers to discount the cars more. And then the dealers themselves have discounts, or at least they should. And so there's a lot more of mechanisms that are very, maybe not so visible to a potential buyer, where you've got a manufacturer, dealer, and consumer. But when you've got direct consumer, everybody says, "Oh, Tesla's all over the place," but they're very transparent. It's very much in your face, and you know what you're dealing with, and
Yeah,
everyone else is paying the same thing. And so I think it's a better way. It's a much more less anxious purchase when you're
I,
dealing with a direct purchase from a manufacturer, as opposed to having the middleman in the middle.
yeah.
Um, but there are an awful lot of levers that dealerships can play, and manufacturers can play, that are you're just blind to. So as much as we say Tesla jumps around, I would almost argue they jump around far less than a manufacturer, dealer to consumer, because every single deal that happens at a dealership is different. It all depends on your negotiation skills. It all depends on how much they need to move them, a product. Oh, it's sitting on their lot. They're now going to start having to pay a higher interest on floor plan. Oh, let's move this car. And there's all kinds of things that go on that you just don't see. Tesla, it it appears as if they're changing an awful lot, but they're changing their pricing far less than manufacturer to dealer to consumers are. And I really truly believe that. It
Yeah.
just seems like they change more, but they're really not.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree with that, and I do think it's a virtue having that transparency. It's just interesting because, right, when Tesla rolls out these changes, like you said, you don't have the obfuscation of, okay, is it your local dealer doing this? Do you know what the actual listed price is? What they're actually doing? It's all pretty transparent. I mean, people like you and I are around to break it down for people, but no matter where you are in the country, when you're ordering a Tesla, you're seeing the same thing someone else says, and I think that's pretty cool.
Max, the only thing I can think of is you just used the word obfuscation. That I don't even know what that means. But somehow I think I do know what it means. And I definitely got that one wrong on the SATs. I can tell you that much for sure. But well, listen, I appreciate you having me on tonight. I know we wanted to do this very quickly, but big news: Tesla once again splashing the marketplace. Everyone, go figure out what the heck you're going to do. The Tesla Model S right now is 10 grand less, or is it? Check out those inventory cars before you say it is, because it's not really 10 grand less if you can buy the long range for only 3 grand more. Be smart about it. Be careful. Don't jump too fast. Do your homework. Always listen to us, because, or at least to me, I'll give you good advice here. It's a good deal, not a great deal. The Model X, still not something I would go for even 10 grand less. Look at those inventory cars, and best of luck to you out there, folks. It's always fun with Tesla. It's always fun.
Always fun. Thanks for delivering the goods, Dave, and we'll just stay tuned to this space.
All
Thanks.
right, take care now, Max. Bye bye. Bye, everyone.